when did you get it? How long have you got to do this? What do you need to get done? How long will it take? And she's like, can I have one question at a time, please? And I thought, yeah, that's probably a better idea. And so I said, what do you need to get done? And she's like, I need to get these 5 sections done. And I said, and how long will it take you to do? And she said, oh, well, it'll take me 15 minutes to do this, and then 30 minutes to do this, and then 30 minutes to do this. I said, okay, so it's an hour and 15 minutes. When are you going to do it? And she said, oh, I guess when I get home tonight, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, do you need me to sit with you so that you're not distracted by your phone and you can actually do it? She's like, yes, please. I'm like, okay, done. So, and look, she sat down, she did it, and she got it done. And the reason I wanted to open with that and mention that is that I think sometimes we get into this mindset where you get overwhelmed by the entireness of a task before you've actually sat down and thought about it and gone, hang on, you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then it's done. So chunking things down can actually make things a heck of a lot easier in the long term. Hello, welcome to, that has nothing to do with the podcast today. This is the show before the show. We will be recording the podcast live here in around about 5 minutes time. So we're just getting everything set up and just hanging out here. Thank you to Jade Starr, whose show I was just on. As I dribble on myself, this is live video for you folks. Thank you to Jade Starr. I was just on her show. That was her 100th interview for How to App on iOS. And it was really cool. So thank you. Yes, was that teleportation? Yeah, so many of you have just been teleported over from Jade Starr. So let's say good day to the folks who are here live in just a moment, and then we'll get ourselves set up. But we'll do the sound check as well. So if I'm coming through loud and clear, I'll just assume everything's good. If there's anything I need to adjust, if you're listening going, you're too loud, you're too soft, you're somewhere in between, do let me know. Hello, Semtex Cow. G'day, Fat Panda Cat. We got Mr. Scott Borthwick here. We have Thomas Christ. Thank you, Jade Starr. Thank you, Gregory O'Sullivan. Mark, bro. What's up, bro? Sorry, that's the first time I've ever said that. Weird. John Swanson. We got, hang on, Dr. Zorders. Hello to you. Hello, the Foul Crow. Hello to anyone I may have missed. Doesn't mean I don't love you, just means that I haven't seen your name pop up there just yet. Yeah, really fun show with Jade. We talked about all sorts of different topics. We talked about DistroKid and their new pricing structure. They've released their app now, which is super cool. We talked about overproducing music, producing too much music. We went off on all sorts of weird tangents and about YouTubers. And should a YouTuber tell you how to do YouTube if they haven't done YouTube? It's a bit like me. If I was about to recommend you a bunch of gear in this video, and I've never used it, would that be good? Or would that be me just trying to money grub and get you to use my affiliate links to buy a bunch of stuff you don't need? Probably the latter. But instead, it is going to be all about home studio gear. And I know I've done these before, and I didn't want to just go, here's all the gear I use, here's my list, there'll be a bit of that. But I wanted to sit down and think about it because I thought, let's do like Desert Island Discs, where you have to work out what are the albums that you would have with you on a desert island if you could only take a certain number. I thought, what about Desert Island gear? If I was starting out now and I could only buy 5 pieces of kit, what would that be? So get your thinking hats on, because I'd love to get your input if you're here live on what your gear would be. Maybe if you don't want to do 5, just do the number one thing that you think you would need, or your favorite thing in the home studio that you use. Yeah, go check that out. No spoilers. No spoilers. I didn't give away anything that we talked about. Well, I gave away the general themes and topics, but yeah, you got 2 hours of revision, of catch up to do, Fat Panda Cat. So you can check out the show if you missed it on the replay. I have an idea to teach how to have an idea. Anyone have any ideas on the idea should go? Yeah, use AI. The answer to life, the universe, and everything, it's no longer 37, it's now ChatGPT. ChatGPT 4 just came out, by the way. Side note, ChatGPT 4 is out now, and that has image insertion. So it doesn't generate images, but you can not only put text in, but you could now upload an image. If you use the paid version, if you use the free version, if you're a cheap loader like me, freeloader, not a freeloader, but a cheap loader, then you can't do this. But if you pay for the premium, you can actually now upload an image, and you can say things like, describe this image to me. Tell me how this image makes you feel. Yeah, ChatGPT 4 is going to be like a psychiatrist now. Tell me about how this image makes you feel. The devil! It's definitely the devil. Okay, we're going off on weird tangents here. We will get started in a jiffy. But yes, we're just making sure that everything is cool. Let's make sure I can do my screen sharing thing. We'll go to share the screen, the screen, the whole screen, and nothing but the screen. So help me, deity of choice. There it is. There's the gear guide. Make sure it's all looking good, fine and dandy. Let's get my banner ready to put up here on the thing, which we need my studiolivetoday.com/gear. There it is. There's the gear guide. Yes, and I know many of you already know this stuff, but you can, of course, use the gear guide, affiliate links, all that sort of jazz, and that helps out. No, wait, I'm not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say it helps me. I will be paid. There's really specific wording. I will be paid a commission if you choose to make a payment, if you choose to make a purchase. Do we have power on the desert island? Good question. No, well, yeah. If we didn't have power, then I'd need to invest in a battery or some sort of generator. My 5 bits of gear. Number one, diesel generator, because nothing says making music like running a Honda generator in the background at 50 decibels. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, I think we're ready to go. This is going to be a little bit off the cuff because I haven't done a heap of preparation because I'm a lazy man and I like to just wing it sometimes and throw stuff out there. Throw it at the wall and see what sticks, so to speak. So we will pause very briefly and then I will kick in with the podcast recording. So feel free to continue chatting. I won't be as interactive, but I'll throw those questions out there as we go along. So if you do have, what do you reckon is the most important piece of kit that you would need in your home studio? It's interesting. It's an interesting thought experiment to do. So let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Studio Live Today podcast. On this week's episode, what are your desert island gear? What are the 5 pieces of kit that you would prioritize if you could have no other gear and you could just use that for your home recording? What is most important to you? Welcome to the folks who are watching this live on YouTube. If you would like to be one of them, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Go to studiolivetoday.com for that. If you would like to catch up on the audio version, studiolivetoday.com/podcast will get you there. So the premise of this is, I thought about it, if I was starting out right now and I was going to be recording in the home studio or the mobile studio, whichever you prefer, what are the pieces of gear you'd use? And I thought I would give you my recommendations because I've been doing this. For those that are new to the channel and new to Studio Live Today, I've been recording in the home studio for coming up 10 years and I've used a lot of different gear during that time and I've found what works for me and what doesn't work so well. And it is all about finding the balance, in my humble opinion. So your opinion may vary, but it's about working out what you need to do and what your budget is when it comes to gear. And you know what? There is such a thing as GAS, gear acquisition syndrome. Have you heard of this one? This is where you think that all I need to do, to get the best quality recordings is to just go out and buy all the gear. Here's the problem with that. You need to know what to do with it. Doesn't matter. I always say that a great song in $1 million in a home studio is still better than a crappy song in $1 million studio. So it doesn't matter the gear you have if you're not producing and creating quality music. So keep that in mind as we go through here. The other great thing about living in 2023, or more in the future, if you're listening to this one in the future, hello to you. I hope it's good in 2025. But the good thing about living in 2023 is that we have really good quality home studio gear that's not going to cost a fortune. So if you are out there, you're using anything from, I'm going to miss some brands here, but Focusrite, Steinberg, M Audio, PreSonus, all of these brands create good quality gear. And you can fit out a home studio for $200, $300, $400 and get some good quality stuff. So gone are the days where you have to spend thousands of dollars to get good quality recordings. If you're just starting out, you can pick up a kit for $200, $300, $400 and it's going to do everything you need it to do. Now, I'll give the caveat there that don't go to the very low end. Don't go down to the low end of town because you do get what you pay for when you're only spent. So if you get an audio interface for $30, you're going to get about $30 worth of quality. But anything that you're paying $60 to $100 or more for a single or a two-channel interface is going to help you out. And by the way, if the words we're using, if what we're talking about mean nothing to you and you're really just starting out, we will give some explainers as we go along, because some of this gear you might not know exactly what a USB audio interface does. So we'll give you a little explainer as we go through here. I've got a cheat sheet for you folks. If you would like to know all of the gear that I use in the home studio, all you need to do is jump on over to studiolivetoday.com/gear. That's GEAR. You're going to find my studio gear guide there. Now that's got all of the links to all the gear that I use for my mobile recording, which I record on my iPhone and my iPad, and my desktop setup. So I use a Mac these days, and I've got a desktop setup as well. So all of the microphones, audio interfaces, mixers, right down to the mice and the keyboard and the webcam that I use when I'm doing live streaming, it is all there in a one-stop shop. Now, the links there are affiliate links, which means if you make a purchase, they will break off a small chunk and send it my way. So full disclosure on that one. But every piece of gear, every bit of kit on the Studio Gear Guide is stuff that I've used and stuff that I know works well in the home studio. And because I'm not exactly someone into really expensive high-end gear, it's not going to break the bank. It's not going to cost you a fortune. And you'll see that as we go through the gear, as we discuss things in this episode. You're going to see that a lot of this stuff, very affordable. You're going to be able to kit yourself out without breaking the bank. So let us dive in. Let us start talking about my 5 pieces of desert island gear. Now, audio interface is the first thing that I've gone with here. Now, as I mentioned before, an audio interface is something that can allow you to connect up microphones, guitars, keyboards, any audio source to your computer or your mobile device. So in the case of me, I use an iPhone, I use an iPad, and I use a Mac. I did use a PC in the past. I've gone over to the dark side or the light side, depending on your perspective there. So when it comes to an audio interface, I have chosen one that is going to work with all that stuff. And not surprisingly, I've reached for the IK Multimedia iRig. So the iRig Pro Duo, in my opinion, is the best balance of quality, convenience, and flexibility that you're going to get. So if I'm on that desert island, and let's not get too technical about that, let's assume that my desert island's actually my home studio. It just sounds a bit better to be on a desert island. So we do have power, and I do have, the other assumption I'm making is I do have things like my guitar, because I could put, obviously I'd need my guitar if I was going to record guitar-based music, but we're going to assume that this is just the studio setup. So first piece of kit is the iRig Pro Duo. It's a 2-channel audio and MIDI interface for iOS, Android, Mac, and PC. And that's the important part here, is that if you are looking for a piece of kit that is going to work with everything, so it's going to be able to plug directly into your iPhone, it's going to plug directly into your iPad, it's going to plug directly into your Mac or your PC without any adapters. And that's the thing, when I was thinking about this, if I chose a Focusrite Scarlett or a Steinberg UR series audio interface, then that would require me to have some power, so a powered USB hub, and it would also require me to have an adapter, a Lightning to USB 3 adapter for my iPhone, a USB-C adapter if I was using an iPad that had USB-C, and then a straight USB plug if I was using something on the Mac or the PC. So I'm going with this as my first choice. And the good thing about the iRig Pro Duo is you've got 2 inputs. You've got separate gain controls on both of those inputs. So, and the inputs are a combo jack. So that means you can plug in either 2 quarter-inch plugs. So if you're plugging in guitars or keyboards, stereo or mono sources, or you can plug in 2 microphones. So you can plug 2 microphones for doing stereo recording, or you're recording 2 sources, or you can plug in a guitar and a microphone. So even if I was recording myself live playing a guitar and singing at the same time, I could do both of those things at the same time. Now, do you need this if you wanted to go with something like a Focusrite Scarlett or the M Audio or the PreSonus or the Steinberg? Yeah, there's heaps of other options, and a lot of those are listed over on the gear guide. So if you do want options, we got options. But in terms of something that can be used for a mobile setup and a desktop setup, I just find that IK Multimedia's iRigs are the way to go. Second thing that I have here is a pair of headphones. Yes. So headphones are important for a couple of reasons, and I've chosen the Sennheiser HD280 Pro. Funnily enough, I'm not aligned with any brand here, clearly, because I've chosen 5 bits of kit and 5 individual brands. So we're not focusing on one brand over another here. So the Sennheiser HD280 Pro closed back studio and live monitoring headphones. So why are headphones important for a home studio setup? Well, here's the thing. You need to be able to hear what you're recording, and when you're mixing and mastering your music, you need to be able to have headphones so that you can actually hear what you're mixing and mastering back. Equally important is if you're recording something with a microphone, you need to be able to isolate that sound. If you're just playing it back through your computer speakers, through monitor speakers, through your iPad speaker, guess what? You're going to get that baked into your audio, aren't you? You're going to get what we call mic bleed, meaning that it's going to bleed in through that. So good set of headphones for your home studio do a couple of things. They help you hear what you're recording in good quality audio, and they help you monitor your own recording as you're recording. When you're tracking, what we call tracking, which is recording in sounds, having a good pair of closed back headphones. Now, what does closed back headphones actually mean? Well, it means that they go all the way around your ear. Open back headphones actually allow that sound to escape. And it's not really just about enclosing around your ear. They'll also have more sound coming out of them. Now, that can be better for mixing and mastering to have an open back earphone, and it can sometimes be more comfortable. However, if you're recording as well as mixing and mastering, having a closed back headphone where none of that sound or none of that audio is going to escape, that is something that's going to really help you out. So that's what I would go with as my second piece of kit, the Sennheiser HD280 Pro. Moving on, microphone. So the third piece of kit that I've chosen here is a microphone. Now, microphones, if you thought audio interfaces and headphones were a minefield because there's so many brands and so many choices and so many decisions to make, wait till you get to microphones. Now, I have chosen the Audio-Technica AT2020. It is a medium diaphragm cardioid condenser microphone. Now, without going into all the detail here, there are 2 main types of microphones you're going to use in the home studio. One is a dynamic microphone and one is a condenser microphone. A dynamic microphone doesn't require any power. You can plug it in and use it with anything, and it doesn't require that phantom power that you would have on an audio interface. It means that it is going to be more flexible, but it doesn't pick up as much audio. Now, maybe you'd say, actually, Johns, you should use a dynamic. If you're on a desert island, imagine the wind sound, the seagulls, the waves crashing. Again, the desert island thing is not real. It is just our analogy, right? But the reason that I would go for this is it is the most flexible microphone and the most practical for different situations. So, to tell you why that's the case, a dynamic microphone, as we just talked about, won't pick up a lot of noise. Good at rejecting background noises, but if you've got a quiet sound, a quiet vocal, a finger-style acoustic guitar, it's also not going to pick that up very well. Something like this, a large diaphragm or medium diaphragm condenser microphone that uses phantom power, will be more sensitive, which means if you've got a quiet vocal, especially things like female vocals can be very difficult to pick up, and you would not want to use a dynamic microphone a lot of the time with that. You can use a condenser microphone like this. The same with acoustic guitar. It will be good for an acoustic guitar. Even if you're miking up a guitar cabinet, just turn the input gain down. Again, because you've listened to Johns, you've picked up your audio interface, your iRig Pro Duo, just turn down that input gain because it's easier. What you can't do is add gain, especially in a digital environment. If you turn things up too loud, you're going to generate noise. You're going to hit that noise floor. Whereas if you just turn things down, it's okay. As long as you're picking up the sound, you can turn down the input gain and you can still get that through. So that's something that may be debated. Some folks may say that other options, the Shure SM57 or SM58, I also love the AKG D5. They're all dynamic microphones. It'll be horses for courses, won't it? It'll be different strokes for different folks. But in my experience, the reason that these microphones get such good ratings and are used by so many folks is that they just get the job done. They can do everything, and they're like the jack of all trades when it comes to microphones. The next piece of kit that I have here, and this is where it starts to depend on the sort of music you create, but I think that a MIDI keyboard controller is a really, really important piece of kit. Even if, like me, you use your iPad or your iPhone, you've got your touch screen, you can enter things that way. You can obviously use the editing function to edit notes if you've got MIDI notes, if you're editing drum parts. But there's nothing quite like the tactile feedback of something that can enter your note information. So I've chosen my old faithful, the M Audio Keystation 49 Mark III. It is around $100 most of the time, $120. It's a good value option. You got 49 keys. They do have touch sensitivity and aftertouch and all the good stuff. So it is all going to work for you and let you input not only keyboard parts, but remember, drum parts. If you're using virtual drums, a MIDI keyboard can really help you with your virtual drums. If you're playing a synth or you just need a pad sound, you can just play it in with a keyboard. It can help you get the timing right. It can help you with everything that you need to get done in the home studio. So the M Audio Keystation 49. And again, there's a heap of other controllers that you can choose from. Akai makes some great controllers. There's the Arturia KeyStep. There's a heap of them. You can have the freedom to choose what you want to use, but that's my choice. That's my option, is to go with the M Audio Keystation Mark III. Let's move on to the final piece of kit. Again, this is going to, your mileage may vary. At this point in time, it gets a little bit more fluid in terms of what you might want to choose. But for me, it is these ones. It's the powered monitor speakers. So as good as headphones are, sometimes you want to hear your music really pumping out there, yeah? You want to hear some good quality audio coming out. And since I bought these, I've been blown away. These are the PreSonus Iris E3.5. They're 3.5-inch powered studio monitors. Now, I was recommended these by a bunch of people, and I at the time had some KRK Rockets that were about 3 or 4 times the price of these that I really liked. So I was like, do I need to try these? I bought them, I tried them, I now use them instead. The KRK Rockets are gathering dust. I use these ones instead of those because they're just so flexible. You can plug them into pretty much any source. You can plug them straight out of that iRig Pro Duo, so you can have your monitoring coming out of there, or you can plug them directly into a headphone jack if you happen to have a device that still has a headphone jack, so you can use it that way. They punch above their weight. They really have a lot of great features that you wouldn't expect in this price range. And by the way, normally about $100 US for these. They've got balanced and unbalanced inputs. They've got acoustic tuning, so you can actually tune it with your highs and your low frequencies. They've got a power switch and a volume control, which, while it's not essential, it's really handy to just be able to flick your monitor speakers on and off when you need to. It makes it really easy. And they've got aux in and headphone jacks right on the front. So you can even have these plugged in and then have your headphones plugged into these. So you can be using both, because sometimes you'll want to jump back and forth between your headphones and your monitor speakers. So I think that these are a really great buy. And that's as simple as it is. They're the 5 pieces of kit that I would choose for my Desert Island gear. We're going the iRig Pro Duo. We're going the Sennheiser HD280 Pro headphones, the Audio-Technica AT 2020 large diaphragm condenser mic. You've got your M Audio Keystation and your PreSonus speakers. And this set is moderate. So this is around $600 worth of gear. And this is going to set you up. Now, do you need all of this? Do you need to rush out and buy all of this if you're setting up a home studio? No, you don't. Because really, you could get started with just the audio interface. Or there's other options. If you're not into this whole buying everything, what about a USB microphone? There's some great USB microphones that mean that you can get started for as little as like $60, $70. The Samson Meteor USB microphone is the one that I recommend, and it's usually like $60. And you can get some really good recordings with that without breaking the bank. So this is just my recommendations. Remember, these are my opinions, my experience. Take everything with a grain of salt when you're actually getting started with your home studio gear. Thank you to the folks who are here live on the show. We've had some great feedback from folks about the different stuff that they use. If you've got more recommendations for me, I highly suggest that you reach out and let me know. John Swanson says, I use the PreSonus speakers. Very cool. Yeah, they do work very well. And the Thomas Christ says, heard the same. about them. I love my M Audio BX5, says the Falcro. Yes, Fat Panda Cat says Presonus killed it with these monitors. Yeah, they really do punch above their weight for sure. Comment here from SM Borthwick. I bought a secondhand Shure Green Bullet, very cheap a few months ago. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Murder some harmonica parts, most likely. There you go. Good stuff. Thomas Christ would prefer being on be stranded on a desert island. There you go. Would be great, wouldn't it? Corona Wire says I use my M Audio a lot. So the M Audio key station, which is very, very cool. I like it. A floating island that people are suggesting there. Absolutely. Floating in general sounds very lovely, doesn't it? Very good stuff. Kahulu Rock says, I went nuts on the microphones. Way too many great choices. I need one or two of each type. Yeah, and look, you can definitely go down that path and spend a lot of money and a lot of time on the gear for your home studio. Really good point here. A pop filter. Yeah. So there's ways to avoid it, to not see. But again, these are the little bits and pieces, like a powered USB hub, pop filter, some cable adapters, XLR cables. Yeah, so I know it's always going to be hard. Whenever you say this is all the gear you need to use, it's not really going to be all the gear, is it? A dead cat. Now, it says Gazzo Evolves. I'm hoping you're talking about a dead cat windshield to block out those island winds. But yeah. Many Vibes actually says, yeah, what's the screen thingy mabab called? Again, that you put in front. Yeah, that's a pop filter or a pop shield is often called. Thomas Christ has those headphones. Very good. I like ear pillows. Yeah, that's the good thing about the Sennheiser headphones is that they have some really nice cushioniness on the side. Fat Panda Cat says, I do like AKG as a headphone brand. Yeah, look, we could talk for hours about different brands. Some folks prefer some brands over others, and that's totally cool. The one thing I'll say, I think you can buy all this gear online, but the one thing I'd say is things like headphones, it can actually pay. As much as I'd love you to buy them using the affiliate links on my gear guide, some things you really do need to go in and try on. So headphones are probably one thing that, because we've all got different shaped ears, different shaped heads, different levels of comfort that we're looking for, the Sennheisers just work for my melon. Your melon may vary. So you may have a different sized head, or you may have different comfort levels and need something a bit different. Brad Example says, I love my Pro Duo. I need a new one though. I have the first gen. It works perfectly every time. Yeah, and don't forget you've got the iRig Pro, the iRig Pro Duo, now the iRig Pro Quattro, which is the latest one. So there's a lot of great products from IK Multimedia. They're just one of the folks that make good stuff, though. Again, don't get super dialed into having to get exactly what I say. I think anyone that says you must buy exactly this and everything else is bad is probably getting paid to say that. Just saying. Just saying. Gregory Sullivan says the first piece of kit would be the computing device. Yes, and goes without saying, but your first piece of kit would be either a Mac, a PC, an iPhone, an iPad, something to actually record, something to actually do the recording, because all this stuff is great. If you've got nothing to plug it into, you're not going to get far. Crow Wire says the Duo is what they use as well. It is really good. It is great to have something that's portable. I love it. I've got my little mobile recording kit case now, and I throw the iRig gear in there because, again, you can just hook it up to everything. The fact that you have USB, USB-C, and Lightning in the box, it just makes things really easy, really good for being able to connect up your gear, connect your things to your other things. Folks talking about Beyerdynamic as well. Yeah, Tremor Bear, I think, said Beyerdynamic make good headphones. We could continue on. This is going to be one of the shortest podcasts we've had in a while. We could continue on, but I want to reinforce the fact that this stuff is simple. The gear that you use in the home studio, it shouldn't be a massive decision that you have to make. It should be pretty easy to work through this stuff and to realize what you need is not going to break the bank. It's not going to cost a fortune. Sit somewhere in that middle zone. Be like Johns and get the gear that's going to work for you. And remember, if you buy secondhand gear or if you buy through other services and you don't like it, can be a little bit challenging to return. The reason that I recommend Amazon and Sweetwater, they're the two places, and Thomann for my friends in Europe, is that they have great return policies. They have good prices, they have a great range of gear, and they have really good return policies too. So don't be afraid to try things out. Don't just go buy everything and then return everything. That's not cool either, because obviously there's a cost involved in shipping things and returning things, and it's you're not going to do yourself any favors to the environment as well. But do try things and buy with confidence from those places, because I've bought things from Amazon that just haven't worked out of the box, or they're just not right for me. And again, having someone with a good return policy means if you spend your hard-earned cash, then you can actually resurrect it if things don't work for you. So that is going to do it for this week's podcast. Yeah, simple stuff here. Don't need to overcomplicate it. Just get there. And remember, it is not about the gear. As I mentioned at the start of the show, you could have $1 million song and use $500 worth of gear, still going to be $1 million song. If your song isn't cutting the mustard, doesn't matter how many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear you throw at it, it's still not going to cut the mustard. So thank you for being here. Don't forget, studiolivetoday.com/gear is the place to go. What's happening on Studio Live today? Well, this week, if you're listening to this podcast around about the time it's released, we've got our usual suspects. We're going to be doing a happy hour show, doing some Australian tunes. We're also going to be diving into Your Music Live, playing your independent tunes. So if you want to submit a song for this week's Your Music Live, studiolivetoday.com/YML. And we're topping all things off with some acoustic guitar recording. Yeah, we're going to jump into GarageBand and we're going to record some acoustic guitars. So if you want to keep up with everything going on around here, your one-stop shop is studiolivetoday.com. I hope to see you over there. As we say at the end of each and every show, please be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and keep creating. And remember, gear does not make the music. Music makes the gear. Or something like that. I'll see you next time, folks. Bye for now. And we're still here because it's the after show, the show where we get to talk about stuff and things. Yeah, I wasn't sure the direction that show would go in, but I wanted it to be quick. I didn't want to do a big diatribe, hour-long stuff about all the different options, because it can be a minefield. And I think sometimes people just need a really simple description. And if you're starting out, it's like, what's an audio interface? Why do I need one? And what's a good one to just get? I do get this question a lot. I'm like, John, just tell me all the things to get. And I'm like, so now I have this. I have that. That's literally the kit that I say, that if you are especially if you're a mobile creator, I think if you were never going to use an iPad or an iPhone, now that we're out of the podcast, I can tell you the real stuff. Now that we're like, I would probably go with a Focusrite Scarlett or a Steinberg UR series instead of the IK Multimedia, only because this is great, but as a desktop, it kind of shifts around a little bit, and it's not just stable. Things like the Focusrite and the Steinberg, they're built like tanks, so they just don't move. So if I was setting up a home studio and I wanted one interface and I was never going to use an iPhone or an iPad, I'd probably go the Steinberg. So that's kind of the only variable when folks ask me this. And obviously the microphone, I always suggest the ATT20. I just think it's a great versatile all-rounder. Headphones, I always say that bit now, because I know Jade Starr tried the HD280s and didn't like them. Probably 80% of people I've recommended them to do like them. So it really depends on you and your personal thing. So I think headphones, of all things, kind of need to try them on. And that's why I say, buy through Amazon, buy through Sweetwater, in case you need to return them. Because I bought some AKGs, and I hated them. AKGs have those round cups, whereas Sennheisers have the oval cups. The round cups make my ears sad. They make my ears cry tears of wax, something like that. Yeah, so I like the idea of having those oval cups, but some people they won't work for. Arturia. So if you're looking for other MIDI interfaces, the Arturia stuff. Oh, so that's the Arturia MIDI Fuse, which is the audio interface. Yeah, look, there's a heap of choices. The UR22 is a tank. It is. It's absolutely a tank. If you're not sure about what that one is, I've ranted about it many times in the past, but it is. Where's my desktop set up? See, it's a bit sad when it takes me this long to actually find. Oh no, it's up here, isn't it? Sennheiser HD280 Pro. No, that's the wrong one. Steinberg UR22C. Yeah, so this one here, this is the absolute tank of a machine that I love. So you can get the UR22 Mark II or the UR22C. Both of them are good quality, and have all the stuff you need. So the other reason this one's good is it can be powered off 2 different suppliers, which is kind of cool. So even if you are using it with a mobile setup, you can plug it in to USB, 5 volts USB, or just plug it straight in via USB-C, which is good. Tony Corlett, thank you. Thank you for the kind words before too. Sorry, I missed the comment because the comments were scrolling fast. But yeah, the HD300. Yeah, Sennheiser do make some good headphones as well. Universal Audio Vault. Yeah, who did I see look at the Vault the other day? Wasn't Patrick, was it? Was it Patrick at the GarageBand guide? Someone looked at the UA Vault stuff, or it might have been, I don't think, maybe it wasn't GarageBand guide. I'm going to have a look. Yes, it was. It was actually. It was Patrick, and he actually looked at this one here. Surprising. Yes, best audio interface for beginners in 2023. So, yeah, if you're not familiar with that one, if we go here, UA Vault. I think it's actually cheaper than the Focusrite and the Steinberg too, which is pretty cool. UA Vault. That's the different one. This one here. UA Vault 1. Yeah, so $140. I kind of like the dials on there. They've got the vintage button there as well, which is cool. So yeah, this is fairly similar to if you're going to get this, I also like the Steinberg UR12. That was my first interface. Oh, this comes with, it comes with a power cable, is it? That's interesting. I should go watch Patrick's review again. But yeah, you got balance monitoring out. It's got MIDI in, USB-C. Very very simple setup, but good stuff. The Steinberg, the new UR12 looks just epic. And look, I know it's not about looks; it's about sound. But how cool does this thing look? I almost want to buy one just to have that in my studio. Look at that orange. It's gorgeous. It's so cool. So yeah, I like the UR12. Very similar to the UR22. Only difference being it's only got unbalanced output, so that's not great if you want to connect it up to monitor speakers. But yeah, as far as looks go, if looks could kill, which is weird because love your Steinberg, but you make, what should we say, the conservative choice when it comes to your design. You're not winning design awards with it's functionality over form usually, but it's nice to see them have a bit of fun with that one. Yeah, most guitar centers have headphones you can try out. Here in Adelaide, I go to Derringer's, which is a good place to actually try stuff. I do sometimes buy from them. It's not that I don't ever buy stuff from them, but sometimes their prices will just be a little high, and it might be the same if you go somewhere in person. Yeah, the M Audio M Track Duo is only $69, which is nice. I've been meaning, because M Audio make that key station, I've been meaning to reach out to M Audio and say, hey, I recommend your key station all the time, and maybe send me one of your interfaces, because I'll play around with it. Yeah, this one here. Check this out. For a 2-channel interface, hello, 2 channels for $69. And look, it's been that for a long time. You're not saving $60. The Main Street retail price may be $129, but it's not that. So yeah, that's what I was saying here, that anything from about $60 to $100 for a single or a 2-channel interface is going to do the job. And the preamps and the converters you get on these things are actually good enough for pretty much everyone and everything that you're going to do. Got a good deal on the UR22. Was looking at the Mini Fuse too. Yeah, it's pretty. Some of them do. They just look nice. Gregory says, when I was shopping for an interface, there wasn't much stuff in stock in Australia, and ended up with the Presonus 68C. I wanted the Motu. Yeah, the Motus look good. But yeah, it can be hard, and we think we have it hard in Australia. Some places in the world, they have it ridiculously hard, don't they? Audient is class 2. Yes, I've been chatting with the folks at Audient, and yeah, I just haven't quite, I don't just want to keep getting new interfaces and trying them out. I'm trying to work out what's special, what's different about the Audient compared to everything else. And I guess, I don't know, I don't want manufacturers to just start making gimmicks either. Just to, because I know that, what was it, Focusrite, that put their air button in. It's like, oh, you press this air button and it puts more air into you. It's like, and you notice that UA Vault had the vintage button. It's like, oh, get a vintage sound. So I guess, yeah, the problem with everyone being so good is that everything's kind of good. Yeah. Trevor Bear says, I thought my interface, the 2R2, was breaking down. It would go silent and hiss. I tried many cables, but it was one of the amps. Oh, one of the amps in Mac. Yeah. You do have to be careful with that. And that's a great tip. So in terms of your gear, don't jump to conclusions, because more often than not, it's some sort of software thing as opposed to the hardware. This stuff is built pretty solid. So Focusrite, Steinberg, M Audio, all these places make really tanky stuff. So it's rare that it's actually malfunctioning. What's more common is that, yeah, your cable's gone dodgy and it's not connecting properly, or a software instrument or a driver issue or something like that. So number one thing, if you're having a problem with an audio interface or with any piece of gear, just unplug it all, turn everything off, turn it back on, plug it all back in. That should be the first thing you try every time. And then always use a clean audio. If you're chest testing something, use a clean audio track, because as soon as you put any effects or any plugins or anything on, it can impact what you're hearing. And exactly the experience that Tremor Bears had here, that's something that you can have as well. Don't worry, I am cheap too. Audio have the same preamps in the budget models as their studio gear. That's the selling point. Yeah, and they definitely are quality. And that's definitely what I hear from folks who love Audient. They say, I use my Audient and it's top quality. The irony that we're in the post show here, and I recorded that podcast real quick, except the stream sort of ducked down a couple of times. Luckily, StreamYard now have a option where I can record the audio to my hard drive at the same time as I'm recording this. So I was doing that in the background. So yeah, if you were hearing it sort of cut in and out, that won't be in the audio version of the podcast. I hope. My fingers are double and triple crossed. Yeah, could try using a noise gate. And that's the other thing. You can definitely use noise gate. The Falcro says, within a year, I filled my Focusrite 404 and now need to get a larger interface. I want an 18i20. I encourage you to think about how many things you eventually want to connect. This is a really good point. And I guess my little gear guide here was more focused on the independent, like single person recording themselves in a home studio, where 1 or 2 channels is kind of what you need. I must admit that I started playing around at one point, and I do own a Steinberg UR44. So I too went with a 4-channel interface. So the older version of this one, this is the UR44C. Still have the UR44. It's over there gathering dust. I should sell it. I should get around to doing that one day. But the Steinberg UR44. But yeah, if you are recording a band, or you want to record multiple instruments or performers at the same time, yeah, start thinking, what is it, the 18i20? Start thinking about some of the interfaces that do have more inputs and outputs, because you may run up against a wall sooner than you think, sooner rather than later. So yeah, this is the beast that is the 18i20, which is kind of ridiculous. You can see there you got your 2 inputs on the front there, and you're like, oh, but that's only 2 inputs, Johns. And I'm like, turn it around. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 combo jacks, and 5 pairs. Oh, they're your outputs. I thought they were inputs. But yeah, so you've got a heap of inputs and outputs on that one. The Focusrite Scarlett 18i30. But that's getting serious. That's getting into your big boy toys, your big person toys, should I say. Maybe one day do a video on how to record in stereo if you have not. Yes, great point. In fact, I'm glad you asked about that, Trevor Bear, because guess what? That's what we're doing in GarageBand Weekly. We're going to be recording using a stereo pair of microphones. So I haven't done that in forever, because to be honest, these days I'm super lazy. I just plug in my Taylor acoustic has such a good pickup in it, that I literally just plug that in, and that gives me good enough quality. Like I don't hear the difference recording with the mic. But what we're doing on Monday for me, Tuesday morning for me, Monday afternoon for you folks on GarageBand Weekly, is I'm actually going to be recording. I've done it before, so if you're impatient, you can go Pete Johns. What was it called? Stereo recording. Let's just see if I can find it. See if I can find recording in stereo, multi-track recording. There was one where I was recording. Maybe I need to go recording 4 inputs. Speech-ons, record 4 inputs. It was where I was using that very same Steinberg UR. Here it is. How to record multiple tracks in GarageBand. So what I might do, because I need a quick comfort stop, because I've just come from Jade Starr's show. So I'm going to go and refill my water, and I might leave you to have a bit of a watch and listen to this. So this is from a while ago, and I don't know what part of the video this is at, but take a quick look at this one while I take a quick comfort stop. Play. So I'm going to flip around now. We'll zoom in on GarageBand, and you'll be able to see how these 4 tracks look recording at the same time from this one performance. So this is where having an assistant or someone in the studio to help would be useful, because you saw my setup before and I'm very far away from my iPad over on the desk. So I'm going to have to go around, hit record, and then run back here and record. Luckily, I've given myself like 10 bars lead in, and I'm actually not playing along with any of the instruments at this stage, so I can really start when I want to, as long as I have enough time and tracks to play the whole song, which I think I do. Let's go. There was a time when we used to play outside. Didn't worry who was around. We were free and we didn't have a care about the things we put in the air. But those days are gone, they have floated away. And now I'm moving on. No more yesterday, 'cause it's gone, and it's a new day. Back when I used to everyone feels I did cut it a little bit there. So yeah, so you would have seen there that was the setup that I was using, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate again a little bit fresher next week. So basically, so the reason I don't like doing this often is that you end up with an awful lot of cables everywhere. So you can see with this, this is what that was the mess of cables. So I think I even say that often, but we have our 2 microphones now plugged in here. We have our large diaphragm condenser microphone there, and our guitar plugged in, and all 4 of those cables are all coming up here into our Steinberg UR44, which is ready to accept these 4 inputs. Yep. So so we'll be re-exploring that next week on GarageBand Weekly. So the way I was doing it there was using an XY. So that's where you get the 2 microphones, and you have one pointing that way and one at 90 degrees pointing that way, like that. And then you can also use stereo pair, which is where you literally just have them on the sides pointing more in, and that way you're capturing the stereo field. So you can either do XY or stereo. We'll probably try both if I can be bothered setting it up with both, or we might just do one or the other. But I'm going to do recording direct, recording with a single condenser microphone, recording with a single dynamic, and then recording with a stereo pair. So it's going to be, I don't know how I'm going to set everything up in the studio here. Probably biting off more than I can chew, as per usual. Yeah, electroacoustics are good. Again, the quality, the reason I don't do a lot of this miking up guitars is that, the quality that you get with a with the Taylor, especially with their pickups, is pretty cool. I don't really need it. SG435, I've been tracking drums the last few weeks. It's all fun until it comes to packing down, and I have 10 mics and XLRs to pack. Yeah, that's the thing. I hate having all the cables everywhere, and I hate the mess of it. I love simplicity, and I love cleanliness when it comes to this stuff. So yeah, we'll see how we go there. I sound a lot more Aussie. I know. I think I've definitely refined the way I talk. I used to talk a little bit higher, because that's the way we talk in Australia, and I used to go up at the end, and I used to talk a lot faster. I used to talk like this, and I used to sound a little bit more nasal, a little bit faster. And what I've learned over the years is to be more considered, and every time, for a while there, I was trying to learn how to speak clearer, and I would say at the start of every show, every video I did, lower and slower. lower, and slower. And now I can just do it. Now it's just natural. So now I just say, and as I'm getting older, I'm lower anyway. So yeah. Rena asked a question right up front. By the way, how long we got? We're going to go now. We've got 10 more minutes. So if anyone has any final questions that you would like to throw out there, you got 10 minutes to get them in. So Rena says, I'm looking at best yet least expensive USB mics with MIDI interface already in it. Last year, the year before. So I'm not aware of a USB microphone that has a MIDI interface. Folks may have already given their feedback on this. But yeah, radio microphones, that's the way to go. Way to go. Wire free. Just plug. Go for it. Yeah, I'm not aware that we have any USB mics with. The only thing I can think, no, I don't think even that. The G-Track from Samsung, does that even have that? No, that's a USB mic with a guitar input, I think. The Samsung G-Track. Ain't nothing but a G-Track. Yeah, this doesn't have MIDI, does it? No, I think for whatever reason, no one's ever produced one that does. So looking at that UA Volt, that looked pretty good. Like that could be what you're looking for, Rena. Like this little one here, because that seemed to have MIDI in there. Like obviously yeah, that's got MIDI in and out. That's $139. That's a pretty good deal. The IK Multimedia stuff that I showed, that has MIDI. So that has these little mini jacks that you can actually plug in and use as MIDI as well. To be really honest with you, I would use USB MIDI over anything that has MIDI. The new NT Rode X is USB XLR and amazing. NT1 Rode. So let's have a look at that. Rode NT1. Also an interface. Is this one? Condenser microphone. It says new. Could be. So that's XLR. Yeah, that's XLR and USB. Wow, that's an interesting way to put it. They've put it all in the bottom there. Interesting. I like it. So yeah, so that basically makes it, because remember, a USB microphone is it's got a built-in audio interface. So all the USB microphone is doing is double duty. It's like having an interface with a XLR microphone plugged into it. And a lot of these USB microphones now, they're actually making them dual purpose. So they can be XLR or USB, which means they've got a built-in audio interface to run as a USB if you want to plug them in direct, or you can flip it around and plug it as XLR. So pretty cool. 32-bit floating point. I heard a thing about USB floating, not USB, 32-bit floating point the other day, and I've always kind of poo-pooed it because I've always said, a 24-bit audio is fine, it's enough, but it just gives you that little bit of extra dynamic range, and it means it can do things like a clip aversion, so you don't clip your signal, because that's really what you're talking about when you're talking about, because 16-bit had lower dynamic range, and obviously 8-bit has very little range, but 16-bit had lower. Like 24-bit gives you more of that. It means you can record quieter stuff and not have the noise floor in there. 32-bit just does that next level. So as much as I've poo-pooed it in the past, I don't know. So it's an interface also. Does it have the ability to plug other stuff into it? Yeah, I'll have to explore it a little bit more detail. But yeah, it definitely looks like it's a good deal. Rode don't make bad stuff, basically. I've never heard anyone. You'll never. Yeah, exactly. You just can't. It won't allow you to. It won't allow you to. It compensates. It holds your hand, which is pretty cool. Because as much as I've done stuff, as much as I don't clip these days, I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't clip very often. It still can be hard to find a balance, because even when I'm recording something like this, I know that my level it has to be a little bit lower than I'd like it to be, because I know if I just bump it up, if I turn my knob here now, I can very easily get into clipping stage, can't I? Because I'm putting it up too loud and I'm in the red. So you do have to spend a little bit more time tweaking things. So anything that takes away the ability to do the bad things, it's got to be a good thing. And that's why a lot of your so to get back to your question, a lot of your cheaper USB microphones are only 16-bit, Rena. So make sure when you're checking the specs, make sure it's a 24-bit at least, 24-bit audio resolution. Otherwise, if you try and turn up the gain on that USB mic, you're going to run into trouble. So there you go. Yeah, I know, it'll become the standard. The only problem is, You and I, Thomas, have Macs with 256 gig of storage. So we're going to run out of space very quickly if we start recording at 32-bit float. 24-bit is bad enough, but shish, 32-bit is going to be cool. Going to be big. Going to be big files. Going to need to get myself some more storage. Alrighty, there you go. There you go. Vibrate that earwax out with the clipped audio there. Yeah, not fun. Did I see one more question? Did I see a Guzzo question? Or was that what I was answering? Guzzo question. Can you try one condenser mic, two dynamic mic, record in stereo? See, yeah, I will. So what I don't have, and you usually use a dynamic microphone because the only matched pair I have is a pair of AKG D40s, which are actually technically drum mics, but they work fine. They're just a condenser mic. So they're just a dynamic mic. They're just a cardioid dynamic mic. So, but they're just littler so that you can shove them in places near drums. So I'll use those. So I'll use a stereo pair of dynamic. I'll use a condenser and I'll go direct. So I probably won't go also, maybe if I can be asked, maybe I'll swap the condenser with a dynamic and do a single mic dynamic and a single mic condenser, but I don't think so. I think I'll just go with the three ways. So we'll see where the direct versus, and here's the thing, if you can do all three, or if you can do at least two of them, that's even better. So if you can go, that's why having a 4-channel interface would be cool, because you could record the same guitar part and you could record it direct and in stereo and with the additional microphone. So again, if I could be doubly asked, I should really get out the UR44, plug all four in at once and see what happens. Do you think Johns is going to be organized enough to do that? Probably not. That's what I meant, single mic. Yeah, so I will do. So I'll use a condenser and then because to be honest, like stereo pair can work and can sound cool, and I've used it I used it in that song. I used it in New Day because that was me recording that song, and it sounds good. You get a nice wide sound, but you know what? You know what a stereo pair that you record that you go to all that effort kind of sounds like? A condenser or a direct signal with the wider plug input on it. Like, we have plugins these days that can do a lot of this stuff. So a lot of the time you don't need to spend a lot of time doing things. You can just do that. You can just record it, get it in there, and then not that you can fix it in post, like not that fix it in the mix is something that you should be aiming for, but sometimes using something like a plugin can actually work just as well, or at least 90% as well as doing that. Is a noise gate the same thing as a pop filter? No. So a noise gate is the actual either software or a physical piece of hardware that actually limits the sound coming through. A pop filter, a pop shield is your literal pop filter. So to give you an example, pop filter is the actual thing. So if we come over here and we type pop filter, this is the round thing that you can make one of these, coat hanger and a pair of stockings. But this is the pop filter. It's just a little thing you whack onto your mic stand, you sing through that, and it makes sure you don't pop your peas. You can also use things like this. You can use like a little fuzzy wuzzy to go on the end of your microphone. If you don't want the whole big thing, does kind of the same thing. It's a windshield. It's all to shield your popping peas. What a noise gate does is when you've got a loud sound, especially one that has feedback. So think of a guitar. You know that hum you get on a guitar amp? You turn on your Marshall and it kind of goes boom. Well, you don't want that in your recording. So what a noise gate does is it says that anything that's below this decibel level, don't play it. Like cut it off. And as soon as the decibel level gets above this level, then you can open it up. So it's a gate in that it closes the gate so that you don't hear the noise, the hum, the feedback. But as soon as you start playing, it opens the gate. So it means when you stop playing, you're not getting that background noise. And it works well for guitars, for distorted sounds and that sort of thing. But it can also be good for background noise on vocals and anything really. And the better noise gates are not just open closed. So if you use, say, the GarageBand noise gate, that's just open and closed. Whereas if you use, say, the Nembrini noise gate, which is free, part of their Analog Rack series, that has both the decibel level as well as a mix knob. So instead of closing the gate completely, you can just turn down the volume. Because sometimes you don't want it to sound so unnatural that it's like off, on, off, on. You want it to be able to just like lower it down. So once you're getting a little bit of feedback, you still want to hear it, but you don't want to hear it as much. And it can be the same with breathing. Like a noise gate can be great if you have very breathy vocals. So you're like, I believe I'm a guy. I believe I can touch. No, sorry, that's inappropriate. But where am I going with that? Every time I think of vocals, I think of that, which is that horrible person, isn't it? Isn't that one of those cancelled people? What's his name? Let's not worry about that. Let's not think about it. All right. But yeah, mandatory for high gain amps for sure to turn on a noise gate. And it's one of the things that, what is it? The IK Mixbox. Mixbox has all these great effects, all these great amp sims, all this great stuff. Doesn't have a noise gate. So if you're using Mixbox, even though you can have like multiple channels of everything, you still got to stick a noise gate on in front of it. So that was a bit of a miss in my view. And I don't think they've added it yet, but they should. Yeah, some noise gates have attack and release, control how quickly the gate closes and opens. Yeah, exactly. Some of them have a bunch of options that, control not only when they open, but when they close. So if you want that, shop around for that. But yeah, if you want something free, an AUV3, Nembrini analog rack noise gate. All right. And you can do that. That's the thing. Noise gates. So the problem is, if you've used noise gates, especially early on, you probably used some terrible noise gates that really sound bad when they turn on and off. But again, noise gates these days, it's not even really a gate. It's more like a noise reducer. And don't forget, noise gates won't actually help if you've got noise when you're playing or when the audio is actually coming through. They will only help in a situation in between stuff. So you need something like Bruce Free if you want to reduce the noise when you're actually recording, when you actually got audio coming through there. And sometimes you want a little bit of amp hum. Sometimes it can help. It can add some flavor to your world. All right, that is going to do it for this one. Quick, sharp, shiny. Quick podcast, a good podcast. It is St. Patrick's Day here in Australia. So we're here in the future. Happy St. Paddy's Day for anyone who celebrates that. Get yourself some green beer on. We have happy hour coming up this week. It's Australian, so we can throw some shrimp on the barbie for the Australian happy hour. And then we have Your Music Live, GarageBand Weekly, where we'll be doing that acoustic guitar recording, and it'll be cool. It'll be good times had by all. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks to Jade for having me on her show, and thanks everyone who hang out there. Thanks to everyone who's hung out here for the recording. I'm going to go and reset all my stuff because these internet challenges I've been having the last few days have been super weird. So I'm gonna take my own advice and go turn it all off and on, and see if we can get some better connections going on here. Yeah, Glenn Fricker is cool. Truth. He's a character. He plays a character, and it's fun. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Please, as we say at the end of every show, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Keep creating, folks. You can do it. And I'll see you next time here on Studio Live today. Bye for now.